Welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. We have a very, very fun discussion evening teed up for you, or morning, afternoon, whatever your time zone may be. So I am here with Quick Draw. Hello, Quick Draw.
Good evening, JT.
Good evening indeed. And special guest, BHawk. Hello, BHawk.
Hey, what's going on?
We are
Thanks for coming on tonight.
very excited to
Yeah,
have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking adaptive tonight, and BHawk, you were just really excited, enthusiastic to take part in our experiments this week, and so we're really happy to have you on and get your perspective on adaptive from you. Best of one and best of three too.
Yeah, awesome. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, we probably will focus on the BO1 variant today, though I will definitely be talking best of three at some point too. So we'll see where the night goes. Um, but uh, but first, let's hit some announcements. Just kind of rolling some things off, give some folks some plugs. So the signups for ABR season eight. Am I getting that right? Season 8. Hey Zach,
I think it's
welcome.
eight.
Season 8 are live. I think there's about a week left to sign up as of this evening. So if you haven't already, head on over to the ABR server, sign yourself up. And, well, I guess following up on that, I'm going to toss it to BHawk for another announcement here.
Hey, exciting announcement. I will be leading as a team captain this season, and I'm excited to take part in that. So that's going to be fun.
Super
Very
excited.
nice. You guys are both captains. I assume you're going to be fighting over me in the first round, right?
There's
Yeah,
like
you're definitely up there.
where the horse trading has begun, where captains are wheeling and dealing behind the scenes.
Actually, a legit question. Do you guys ever trade picks?
Ooh.
No comment.
Oh man, that's a yes. That's a definite yes. I love it.
Oh.
And moving on. so, so STE Swindle Team Event signups for close the end of the month. So get over that too. I'm excited for that one. Have a deck picked out. We're trying to rustle ourselves up into two teams on the Sloppy Lab Work side. So looking forward to that. And KFL 18. And give that one a plug. I think we're going to have some NKFL themed evenings coming up soon too. So head to that one too. And one more point of administrivia. Very excited to welcome Kveld to the Sloppy Lab Work team. So we are systematically, mathematically, scientifically plundering the Can't Touch This folks for top talent. Watch out, coming for you.
We got three now.
Yeah, so we now have Not Tonight, Crusader, and Kveld to the list. Very cool. Very cool. Polish contingent. Very nice. And special thanks to Ultimo Fox and Critnado for kind of jumping into our segment on the stream this past weekend for the marathon event. A lot of fun. We were super, super happy to be involved. And both Ultimo and Critnado threw down some challenges on stream with us. I have your prizes set aside. They will get mailed out this weekend. So shout out to you for being awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun on Sunday for the revival stream, 24 hours straight. I think it was more than 24 hours actually. And then the Game Found campaign crossed 1.1 million last night, which is insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, BHawk, we know what Quick Draw's dream deck would include. Dream Unchained deck. What would your Dream Unchained deck include?
Uh, this Logos Untamed. Uh, I'd really love to see a library access doubled up. That'd be fun. But also, I'd like to see a double keyhammer deck.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Is that I didn't know that was banned by the algorithm.
Yeah, only one copy.
Now that you
Wow.
mention it, yeah, it's one of those things that I just hadn't thought about. But yeah, that would be some nonsense. I like it. I like it.
Mm.
And of course, it has to have an interdimensional graft.
Yes, of
Preferably
course.
Maverick Dentis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right on.
Oh, what we might actually talk about a deck that can pull off something similar to that tonight. It was in one of our shorts this week, and BHawk, you've expressed some admiration about it before. I'm not sure if you caught it this week too, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll talk about that one a bit later.
Okay.
Right on. So cool. So we we threw out a bunch of surveys to folks this past week. Got a bunch of responses, really interesting responses too. I think my primary takeaway was that chain bidding for adaptive short is really hard. and yeah, and I mean, even our teammates, we were looking at these lineups, and most of us knew at least one of these decks pretty well. And I think maybe that's a good kind of uh, topic for us to discuss too, is how bidding differs in a scenario where both decks at least somewhat, like in a best of 3 scenario, versus a best of 1 scenario where one deck very well, versus something like sealed best of 1 adaptive, or even like an auction, like a sealed auction. You show up to your local, there are 6 people, you open 6 decks, and you're gonna auction them off for chains. So that's a scenario where you're kind of chain bidding, and really don't have much knowledge of any of the decks going in. So I guess, curious to the folks here, folks on the chat too, if you want to chime in. What's your thought process when deciding on a number to bid? Do you have specific things you look for? Do you make some mental notes? Is it all gut feel? And yeah, I'm gonna let you all chime in.
Yeah, I'm wondering from your perspective first, as someone who wasn't familiar with either of these decks when you were going over these shorts, like what were you thinking? What was your process for this?
So a lot of it is, for me, it rooted to deck familiarity. Do I have decks that I play that are similar to these? But then also I would do like a light evaluation of what mechanics are in these decks that can offset chains. So like when I saw logos versus non-logos, or if I saw like in this first matchup, Russell versus Anakim Asso. Is that right?
Yeah.
I saw double Tau Vapors, Edi, double Daughter. Like that logo suite is fire. On top of that, it has binding irons. So like those are all, and the double mimicry, those are all things that one offset chains. So even though deck quality wise, these look pretty. I mean, that looks like one of the best Dark Tidings decks I've ever seen. And I don't like Dark Tidings, so I would automatically not even look at it to bid on it. But seeing those card draw effects that offset chains, that's one I would gravitate to. I'm familiar with it. Dark Tidings is still just like a wild bull to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow up on that in a few minutes about like your style, and I think that's perfectly legit to say like I don't love Dark Tidings. I'm not super familiar with it. I'm not like I don't you don't love it, so like you're not gonna pick it, and that's totally fine. And that kind of I think would be interesting to talk about in context of like more than one correct answer to these
Hmm.
questions. Like
Yeah,
maybe someone could take a deck for 6 and be fine, but someone else wouldn't go above 2, and maybe they're both right.
yeah.
Um, it,
There's deck piloting, all that stuff that goes into it.
yeah, for sure. Um, What about so I always look at anytime I'm playing adaptive, and even when I'm just playing a regular, Archon game against someone, if I'm getting like a 2 minutes to look at their Archon card, I kind of look for the same things, like the heavy hitters. Like I think you can kind of simplify by saying the decks of Keyforge, the meta score. So like I look for hard R, I look for board wipes, and I look for scaling A. It's like the first thing because I feel
Hmm.
like those are the things that you really have to play around, or you will be punished hard. Like if you have an artifact that you rely on and you don't realize they have a poltergeist, then it could cost you, and you could make some misplays leading up to that. Or
For
if like they
sure.
have a TMTP, obviously you don't want to like burst too high if they might have it, or
Yeah.
things like that. So like
Especially if you're not going to leave yourself with options, right? Yeah, you
right.
want to be able to play around what your deck, what your deck is doing, and what your opponent's deck is doing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, so that's the first thing I look for in any game like this. Um, I consider it like my first pass. Like when I'm first looking at this stuff, you only have a couple minutes. That's the first thing I'm looking for is like to know like what do I need to play around, or else it's going to completely destroy me if I don't see it. And I think the second thing for me is just getting like a feel for what the deck's going to be doing. So count the bonus ember and count the creatures. If you see like a low amber count, then you might realize they have to rely on a board. And that's kind of just a rule of thumb, obviously. But if you see like a high creature count, then you know that, you know, that they could be just trying to build up a board. And if you have like a single board wipe in your deck, you might know that, okay, they've got like 23 creatures, and I've got to make sure I use this one wisely. So
Yeah.
stuff like that is like the second thing that I look for.
Yeah, for sure. I look at those same things. I think those are very important, especially when you're going into a match where you're not sure which deck you're playing with. You really want to know what the outs are to play around. But on top of that, I do look for those extra things because chains can do something that really exacerbate a deck into not being able to be played. Like I see like Anakim with 30 expected amber. That makes sense. That's a ton of expected amber, but it's only got 6 speed. So if that deck is chosen and it's bid on, like it could be as little as like 4 chains that like lets Russell build up to it. But on top of that,
Spot on. I just sorry to
yeah,
interrupt you.
yeah,
Like your evaluation of that deck is like really good. Like
yeah.
it's definitely one of the best Dark Tidings I've ever seen, and it also really struggles past 4 chains. So that's
That's
a very good
interesting.
call. Yeah.
Yeah. On top of that, though, you also have to look at what I like to call tempo match. So
Hmm.
if you look at that Shadows suite, you've got all of these. That is tempo matching, like the scooped, so you can capture one. But you got to make sure your opponent has amber to capture on it. Otherwise, it's just board removal. Brand, Hard Simpson, like all of these, like are cards that rely on your opponent to have amber. And if I take the opposing deck, I can see that and I can build up a flood of cards after they're stuck with shadows. Like I know, okay, they just bursted out of their shadows. They don't have those cards anymore. I can now burst past this, or I can build up a big huge board because another thing is that these don't have there's one board wipe in Anakim. And if you've already played the board wipe, you can just lay down your board. And
Yep.
then it doesn't matter if they have triple scooped and all that stuff because you'll be able to outboard them with
Yeah.
just reaping and all that stuff.
Yeah. It definitely can struggle with against the big board like that. Sometimes it has to hold on to the word of returning, if there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
capture decks and you can't remove these big sanctum creatures. So it needs something like that. And like I think the board wipe you're referring to is probably the groundbreaking discovery or the thin the herd. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
either of
I
those
mean,
are still like a little sketchy, for board
yeah,
wipes.
they are.
So
Especially, I mean, is there any artifact control in Russell?
Just the
What is that?
Rustnar.
Point 0.5.
yeah, a
Yeah.
couple of
Rustnar. Ooh, okay.
yeah. Th
Interesting.
those are things to like the Rustnar. It, I'm looking at those in like my last pass of a deck. Like if I do have artifacts and I see like, okay, they don't have any hard R, then I'm looking for like, okay, if I have time at the end of the evaluation period, like, okay, they got Rustnars, do they got like some other random creatures that can exhaust or use or steal your artifacts, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, yeah, it's good to know. And you can play around the stuff like the Rustnar much more than you can play around like a Poltergeist or a Hawk.
Sure, for sure.
Hmm.
But also, I mean, Russell has double mimicry. That's cool. So, I don't know.
How
It
that
just,
The
That's such a
it,
hard
mimicry's
card to evaluate
always a
adaptive.
wrench. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
It's
It's
interesting
an
too. I
interesting
think
card.
like if I was gonna sum that up, I'd say like you're looking at these decks. You're trying to be like, okay, what's the path for victories here? How do those path for victories interact with each other? What do you have to stop? Is there a story with the creature count, with the creature removal, with the bonus amber? And I absolutely do count creatures, count bonus amber, try to get a sense for the amber control and efficiency, and see if
Mm-hmm.
there's like a glaring like, oh my gosh, this is a rush deck and the other deck just has no amber control, or this deck's gonna go way out on board and the board control is suspect in the other deck, and kind of try not to miss very glaring very kind of glaring mismatches in plans and tools. And then beyond that, I have to be honest, my approach is not super scientific, right? It's kind of like, and this is kind of getting at a little bit what Andrew's saying in the chat here, like +2 decks if you think they want to play their deck, +2 chains. I mean, like in the 0 to 3 chains range, I'm kind of like, this deck's better, but like maybe I'm going to say him in 1 to 2 if I like don't really want to play it, and 3 is like, okay, but I want to play that deck. But I don't know. Is there like a difference in your mind between 2 chains and 3, or is it just kind of like
no,
gamesmanship?
like to me, 3 chains is almost like it's a coin toss whether we're gonna pick the right deck to bid on anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
It,
I mean,
yeah.
I think if you're talking about efficiency decks, like BHawk, you pointed out the Logos efficiency in Russell. Um, I like we I think JT and I have talked a lot on the side, and we're probably going to have a lot more topics on this in the future on this podcast about efficiency and adaptive, and like what is a good adaptive deck. I strongly believe that Logos and that efficiency can make a good adaptive deck because you can kind of smooth out those chains that you're getting. It's like the 3 chains for the high efficiency deck is nothing. There's a deck we looked at, I think it was today's short that we posted, where it has an auto encoder and like 2 transporter platforms with Nell and a ton of upgrades. And it
Like,
can
oh
just,
my gosh, that
yeah,
deck
I
looks
mean,
so good.
it can roll. Like it can weather the storm with 2 effervescent principles, and it can like get to a point where if you just stay alive in the game to shed your chains, however many you started with, then it's going to be a machine, you know, like, and that efficiency is like the key to it, you know, because you just offset those chains, you still find the things that you want if you can find the auto encoder or their efficiency like that. But yeah, like I definitely see your point on the efficiency being like a big factor in your chain bidding.
For sure.
So I want to give some of these others a little bit of time as well. But last kind of question for this matchup specifically, this Anakim versus the Magician matchup. You know, here's 2 decks. They're both rated 80 on the dot. You know, there's perhaps holes on creature control in both to an extent. You know, the number looks respectable, but you dig in, you're like, well, Key to Dis is a little slow. Harbinger of Doom, okay, kind of shaky. And then here, well, it's like you have to assemble the groundbreaking discovery. Maybe these things get a little more suspect under chains. Regardless of which deck is better, I mean, when I look at the results that came in, you know, we had folks wanting to play the Magician for 11 and other folks wanting to play Anakim for as much as 7. I mean, that's a wide gap. It's not like 3 chains difference. You know, you write it off and you say it's rounding error. I mean, do you think it's folks, whichever, you know, right or wrong? I think that's, you know, a wider gap than you can attribute to preference or play style or you know, wanting to
and
play
also,
yeah.
You can see the difference in speed between the 2 is almost 11.
Yeah. So I wonder,
That's
yeah, you
interesting.
think it's folks kind of putting a lot of weight on the efficiency or putting a lot of weight on maybe expected amber and kind of leaning hard into one?
I think the people that see the Dark Tidings potential are also ones that have played a lot of Dark Tidings, or they like that suite, or they've played against it enough to be like, yo, this is a good deck. And also, that's a lot of expected amber. It looks like a really cool Dr. Virector deck. But I think it is the people that are going towards Russell are the ones that maybe are more comfortable with Worlds Collide, that see that efficiency difference, and I think that's why that they decided to go for Russell those people.
Do you remember what you bid on this one, BHawk?
I think I bid a lot. I think I was the 11.
Oh, wow.
Let me see here.
I don't remember what I bid. I think I bid Anakim like 4. I think was my bid on this one. Like I said to you before, like Anakim doesn't take chains super well, and Russell's a very good deck. I definitely still I like Anakim in the matchup. If it were straight up no chains, and you know, you were saying like 3 chains is like virtually nothing, right? So
Yeah.
I think this is a really close matchup, and like 4 chains to me is probably a sign of my familiarity with Anakim over Russell.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense.
JT, do you remember your bid on this one?
I don't remember which it was, but I want to say I was 6 or 7 for Anakim. And the Magician here, Russell the Magician here, is my kind of current go-to adaptive deck. So kind of funny that we had 2 that we were very familiar with right off the bat here. And I could be totally wrong. I don't know. Maybe I've just been trounced by Anakin so many times.
We'll play it sometime. Not tonight. We can play this one sometime. And
yeah.
see what happens in a best of one.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, the next one's very interesting too. Rector versus Jersey, and yeah, we might have to spend a little less on each one here, but I don't know if there are ones particularly you want to take a look at. We're gonna make all of these all this information kind of available after the fact. So yeah, BHawk Quick Draw. If there are ones in particular, or kind of folks in the chat, if there are ones in particular you were curious to dig into, we can spend a few minutes kind of digging into those.
Well, I'd love to talk about this
Yeah.
matchup. Because I think I was the one that said 5.
5 for Rector or 5 for Jersey?
Let me see here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, my thoughts are just like not to give Rector too many turns to set up. So like I'm going for Jersey, but I'm only going for 5 because like if I spend too much time, like to me, Jersey looks like the better deck, like by and large. But Rector's the kind of deck where if it just draws right, it can just combo out.
Yeah.
So
This is a funny one. Like our team, these are not tonight's decks, and Rector is like, she plays it in every event, and she just crushes everything. And so like we went into this one thinking like, oh man, this is a trap. This is a total trap. And we like, I don't think JT and I like fell for it, so to speak. I definitely bid on Rector in this one. But it's like, and they've played this one a lot. Like not tonight, and you JT, I think have played this matchup, right?
I am not sure I've played this matchup specifically. I've played both decks, and there is a story here. So this matchup got played, I think, between Not Tonight and Kveld, and they went in first pass. They started, I think, 8 chains for, oh my gosh, it's putting me on the spot, for Yurja. Yeah. For the 91 Saz deck, right? So 8 chains, and it got absolutely demolished by Rector. So they came back and they said, okay, 4 chains, and then Rector wins handily again. They played it even. Rector wins handily again, and then at the end, I think they were in the 4 to 6 chains range. I forget exactly, for Rector before it kind of petered out. And I still think even then in their test games, the Mass Mutations deck hadn't won yet. And these are two folks.
So crazy to me,
right?
Yeah,
I didn't see this. I didn't know this story.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't share that story. Like that was part of the fun when we posted this one, was that like we had that backstory, and we've seen Rector play like dozens of games,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny like what a deck like that can do in the hands of the right player who's super familiar with it.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to see the results for this one.
And this one got me good, because without that in context, I would have gone heavily, like, I don't know, I probably would have gone 10 plus on the Mass Mutation deck easily. Like, you look at this deck, all the cards in it are amazing. Like, it doesn't look like it's a bad house, right? It's just it just looks like a pile of like awesome sauce. It really does. None of the stats are terrible. Like, okay, Amber Control, a little bit on the lower end, but like next to 1.4 for Rector, you're like, well, 8.8 is, an embarrassment of riches. You're not really lagging on any indicator. Neither deck looks like it's got crazy effective power. And you think you probably have the board control to deal with, gang or not shenanigans. But to hear her recap it and kind of some of their notes, it's like, yeah, there are great cards in this deck, but it ends up tripping over itself an awful lot. And I feel like that's like, even now when I look at it, I'm like, well, I'd probably have to play it out at least once or twice to get a good appreciation for what that means and how it translates into confidently bidding for Rector.
So I can definitely see that in the Dis suite with like the Shadow of Dis and the Mark of Disses and everything, like the Double Waking Nightmare. Like, you'll sometimes get clumps of those cards, and it's like, do I play this? And is this the right turn? Because do I wait until the turn they're about to combo with Gang or not? to play Shadow of Dis, or do you wait until after you're sure they've done the Gengar combo and you're just delaying until you can get some removal with the Savage Clash? And here's the thing with Drummer they like their most powerful creature, they can make sure that it is Drummer and they can return Gengar Chieftain to their hand. So Savage Clash isn't even really like a hard removal against Gengar.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think this deck, Yerzy, was also played in the Swindle team event a couple seasons ago against, it was, I think it was me and I think it was UJT, and Now in Stereo were on the team. And it was I want to say it was the reversal match. And Now in Stereo was playing this Yerzy deck. And I remember like him having some awkward plays with like the Lethalogica that just discarded his Savage Classers that he like really needed and stuff like that.
Oh.
Kind of happened a lot. So it has like that other kind of stuff, like you were saying, it trips over itself, JT, a bit. And like I witnessed it in that matchup doing things like that, where it's like you have this great efficiency, but then the Lethalogicas can just discard everything you need that's not Logos.
And here's and this is kind of another thing that doesn't immediately jump off the page here when you're looking at these decks, even side by side, right? Like Rector has tons of threats, like tons of witches, both whether it's a printed trait or not. There's just like, you see Dusk Witch comes down next to Grovekeeper, and all of a sudden you've got, one card that can take it off the board unless you can fight through it, right? You've got your Mark of Disses, so I guess two, right? But if you get that +1 counter on it, then the 1 damage pip on the Adaptoid.
Dino Fiend will take care of it.
Yeah.
Savage.
So there's like
really interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting. And then tons of things of that sort. So, how are you going to deal with the Taliga? How are you going to deal with the project? Or if they're threatening for the Gengar combo, how do you kind of like handle those threats? So I think there's sort of a dynamicism and kind of threat density that poses really interesting problems to Yurja.
Yeah.
You're the only one trying.
Only one trying.
Yeah, that's Jersey to me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy because like Jersey definitely looks in my wheelhouse. That's what I would do. But I also have a deck that's exactly like Rector, and I know that deck can sneak wins. Mine's only a 63 SAS, and I'm still like, yo, this is still a good deck. But it's just interesting that this matchup specifically, you guys actually have a couple of matchups with it as a data point for reference.
Yeah, I think it's the only one that we actually had any previous data on.
Yeah, but even knowing that story, I think I'd still stick with Jersey. So
yeah.
I think that just speaks to my playstyle more is Jersey's playstyle, and maybe like also I just draw better, so I'm sure that'll be fine.
It always comes down to that.
Yeah.
And you were looking at the chart there. The spread was pretty big on this one too. Like some people bid 5 on each. Like that's a 10 chain difference between those. 6 on Rector for 1. So yeah, I mean, there's like still a wide spread. Not quite as much as the last one we looked at, but
yeah.
So
but what I love about the mix-up of short adaptive is sometimes it just ends up being a no chain matchup.
So do you ever play those matchups that are adaptive best of 1, and then you're looking at it and you each pick different decks, and then you have that moment you're like, oh crap, did I just make a terrible mistake?
No. I usually end up picking my deck just because of comfortability. So I'm just like, I win if I pick this one, and I don't lose if I don't. So
I had one. I think I can't remember if I picked my own or my opponent's, but I definitely felt immediately scared whenever my opponent picked the one that I didn't, because I thought that it was pretty clear, like which one was the winner, which one was better. And then when they like picked something different, I was like, uh-oh, like did I make a mistake or did they make a mistake? I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah.
That was there was an event that featured that round over round for me. It was called the ABR Sealed Mass Mutation Extravaganza or whatever. Yeah, I think my default was just I'm going to play the deck I brought. Oh, you want to play the other one? Ooh, okay. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to look at one of the last two from the last couple days. Mayer
Yeah.
versus Grigorov was insane. Like that one is that's a weird one. I don't know if we can dissect this one in one podcast. That was just such a weird matchup there. But I did want to talk about the 6 and 7 because 6 and 7, I believe, were both unanimous for one
Hmm.
of the decks. And
Hmm.
I kind of wonder, like, how does that, um, you know, when you see something like that, then we're getting into like higher chain bids here. Like, how does that change your thought process, BHawk?
Oh, I mean, to me, that deck is clearly better in that matchup.
Yeah. And so,
I
like, how high do you go though?
For that one, it's a tough call because you're really trying um to me, I feel like I have to flip the script and be like, how many chains, if I had this deck, would I feel okay with that deck having? Right? That's the other way of looking at it.
Hmm.
And to me, I feel like Sleepy Analog needs so it has the deep water Gruins, it's got some burst, it has Mookling for amber control, has Numquid the Fair for creature control. I mean, the Maverick Raptors, they're just so funny. With the like that's just bizarre. And I having played a deck with those cards, I did not like it. It just doesn't feel like it does anything. It's just creatures and then but the logos looks interesting, right? So like you'll be able to fight and stuff with the Sanctum. You'll be able to do some damage with to make those exploiters go off, but like maybe 1 out of 4 logos turns you'll be getting value out of those 2 cards and they take up a spot and then you're not going to be taking there's going to be no tide changing. So like Hydro Cataloger does next to nothing. Information exchange, sure, that's basically the best cards in this matchup. Uh, but yeah, so like what I'm looking at is this deck needs some help, and you need to slow down this other deck by a pretty significant margin for it to win. I would say at least 7 chains. Like I might go as high as 8.
I think I went 11 on this.
11.
I can't I don't recall. I think I may have been the 11 there. Maybe 10. It was a lot. I remember. Um, I think the one thing that scared me from going more was actually the two Deepwater Groons in the Beach Day,
Yeah,
because I feel like the Chinese deck here, like it's got like the red pennies, um, but like it it's kind of hard if you're chained, if you have like 4 card hand, and then they just drop down a Groon, a Beach Day, and a Groon, and then suddenly they have like enough for a key right there just from 2 cards. So like to
sure.
me that was like the scarier part about going too high, because the Chinese deck, I think it's Switchblade is what we put it in as, which is the translation, thanks to Google Translate. Um, Switchblade was like once the autoencoder it gets rolling, and if it can archive the archivist, it's just like playing 6 or 8 cards a turn. But when you're taking, if you start with like 10, 12 chains, like can you put that together? And I think the one thing that I would worry about in a deck like that, it's like sure you have the autoencoder and you can get it rolling. Is like does the other deck have the ability to rush to the point where you just don't have time to find it? And that's kind of what the Groons in the Beach Day like sort of signal to me is like a red flag. Maybe
Yeah.
that's like not enough cards. Maybe I should have been looking
Well,
for
so
more
like,
rush.
but that's assuming a perfect draw, in my opinion. Like, and even if they get a key, they still have to get 2 more. And I just don't really see it happening. Even at even so like 11 cards, you 11 chains, you have 2 less cards.
Yeah,
So, but it's got 18 efficiency. That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I, against in this matchup, you could go as high as 12. But it just depends on the draws, you know? Like I feel like this matchup, it could be like Sleepy Analog, let's say best case scenario for Analog, it has 12 chains. or the what'd you guys call it?
The Chinese deck
Swiftblade?
switchblade. Yep. Hmm.
Switchblade. Okay. So Switchblade um just draws garbage, mulligans into garbage, doesn't get any of its efficiency, leads with Miasma Bomb Doom Sigil maybe? I don't know. Like it could be in one turn Sleepy Analog manages to get a key. That's like best case versus worst case. But then even at 4 cards it can wipe with Savage Clash. It just has these random cards. The only thing that I fear is like as a hand of Gloriana's Attendant, the Doom Sigils, Miasma Bomb, all the cards that don't really do anything early enough to matter. But I feel
Yeah.
like before the third key, I mean, Sleepy Animwog has to be moving pretty quickly. It's not going to do it in 3 turns at only 19 efficiency or 19 expected amber. It's going to take at least 6.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I feel like by turn 5, Switchblade could stabilize. And that's all it needs is just stabilize.
Yeah. It's good points.
Yeah, we have some folks in the chat saying, yeah, 9 to 12. I think, to be honest, I think you could make a decent argument, not having played the match, anything from in kind of the 6 to 12 range that we're seeing here. Like, I think, yeah, and maybe 9, maybe right around a 9 is a sweet spot. But yeah, it's,
I feel like anything less than 7 is a mistake. And
mm,
the reason why is because you're only having 2 less cards for 1 turn. I don't know how many times I've been playing a game, I get Binding Ironed and I don't even notice.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
having 1 card less isn't that debilitating, but having 2 cards less for multiple turns is.
Yep.
So interesting,
Definitely.
maybe interesting one for a Data Forge crossover at some point. But the effects, it's kind of interesting to think about the effects of chains at different points in the game, right? Like the chains at the beginning, the effects of them, maybe it depends on what else is in your deck, but linger and have a tail that lasts for longer. Like I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, I'd take the tide every turn if I knew there's one turn left. Every time if I knew there was one turn left in the game,
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. I definitely see where having a Dark Tidings deck in a game where chains are probably going to be flung around for the tide to fight for it or whatever, you would almost need a deck that requires the opponent have to take the tide. Cards like Static Collection Array, like that is a must interact with the tide card.
hmm
And I feel like those kinds of effects could really play with the chain bidding a little bit. Not sure how much though. I haven't done enough
So yeah,
Yeah. The
playing
interesting.
or
One of the
anything like
reasons why
that.
I do, and I know, or at least I want to say, BHawk, that you're not a huge fan of the tide mechanic. Maybe we'll have a DT discussion later. But one of the reasons I'd like it is that it's a game. It's a mechanic that interacts with kind of like the primary balancing mechanism, whether it's good or bad. It's what we've got for the moment of the game.
Hmm.
So kind of
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, it's interesting in that regard. Um, so
Yeah. No, I totally get it as a balancing mechanic. I just feel like so Dark Tidings, the card should be better with the tide, not the same with the tide.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of it. I felt was I thought it was a good balance compared to some of the Coda stuff, like the Chelonia versus Hunting Witch.
Yeah.
Like I would probably I think Chelonia is better, to be honest with you, just because of the elusive. Um,
Hmm.
but like having to take those chains for it to me felt like a nice trade-off. I think it was interesting. It added a strategic wrinkle to it. But when you're playing like DT versus non-DT, then
There's only
how
gonna be
often?
usually one time. Like,
Yeah, like it. I almost never would take the tide if they have a Chelonia out and I can't kill it right away. Like
yeah.
it just doesn't seem like it would ever be worth it. Like I made a list of the number of cards that like really force you to take the tide if you're not playing with Dark Tidings, and
Hmm.
the list was like 5 cards. It
Yeah.
was like Dry the River and maybe sometimes Stat Collection Array and Medicus Lacus and
Yep.
like two others. That was
Yep.
about it.
Those are must-haves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Everything
agree.
else they can just raise before they use their cards, and it's like, okay, you just took 3 chains, and they get to do what they want to do anyway.
Right, especially when they have like the static effects like Bilge Warden and the one that can fight to raise the tide. Like there's some effects that you can see on the board. It's like there's almost no point. They're going to be able to take the tide without any chains.
Yeah.
And so to me, whenever I'm playing a Dark Tidings game, I almost always assume I'm just not going to interact with the tide. Because if I take 3 chains one time, that that is preventing one card 3 times. That could have been the answer I needed that much sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty rare that I think you want to take it. I see a lot of people proactively take the tide against me, like in anticipation of me, I don't know, playing a sea urchin or something like that, and it's almost never the right call.
No. But
Switching.
Um,
it is an interesting proposal using a Dark Tidings deck in adaptive best of one. That is.
I do love it for adaptive. It's funny you mentioned the static collection array. There is one of these shorts. I think it was number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Guadalupe versus Denizag, and Guadalupe is like chock full of cards like the static collection array, Mecha Buoy, Tide Warp, and it just kind of like really just muddies the waters of like how do you play against those kind of tide related artifacts.
Mm,
Um, and so I
yeah.
think it's a really interesting deck for adaptive just because of the complexity. And like if someone else is playing with or against it, it's very confusing what you should do against it because it's kind of just a really unique, unfamiliar situation for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I love picking decks where the opponent might be familiar with the cards, but when like I have a deck that I might play later. Uh, it I I'm struggling to talk because I want to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it.
Well,
We
So
can
I
talk
have a
about it
deck.
in the game.
one
I'm
more
going to
point.
talk about.
One more
Oh,
point here, and
okay,
then we can switch over to maybe the game, and
okay.
maybe we'll do our chain bidding, and then discuss it. But the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on for this matchup specifically, this was the sixth one, Switchblade, the Chinese deck for Sleepy Analog. Um, yeah, really interesting when there's a big disparity in raw power level, and one of the things that I look for to give me kind of some confidence in going to a chain range that's like 9 to 12 is like what's the catch up mechanism look like? How does the deck that is going to be heavily changed like get back into the game and like reverse the momentum, right?
Mm,
And so analog, yeah, there's some burst potential. Yeah, you got the Gruins, you got the Beach Day, you've got the Ambermancies with your Shark, which is kind of fun. But really, it's like I'm gonna play lots of creatures. I'm hoping to reap, and you've got like the Savage Clash. So it's like good luck finding the Savage Clash before I've burst far enough ahead for you to catch up. And that's like that was kind of the trade off I was trying to consider with this one. I think I landed, I don't know, in the 8 or 9 range. So I'm right there with you. But I think it's interesting and gets back to something you were mentioning before, BHawk, about like changes the balancing mechanism. Does it really do a good job of balancing? Does it emphasize kind of like or heighten the variance of the
mm-hmm.
matchup or what? But this is one where I see like maybe it kind of does kind of lean into the variance of the matchup, because I think I want to say in the 9 to 12 range, I think Sleepy Analog has like real chances at stealing, or at least making it interesting, like super interesting. I
Yeah,
think.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's one of those things where like also how are they going to uh, play the deck? And I mean, Sleepy Analog, we're all talking about it as it getting like the best case scenario,
Right.
but it could also have like 2 information exchange to anomaly exploiter in its opening hand, or something like it does a 2/2/2 or 2/1/2 where it's just like these are awkward cards. I'm not getting any value out of these, and then all of a sudden Switchblade is in it.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, we don't need to talk about it because I know we do want to get to the game, but I just found it entertaining that the last one from today had a bid as high as 16, which was the
Uh-huh.
highest we had of any. Um, it's a lot of chains.
That is.
I feel like that's too many.
Yeah, let's run through the rest real quick. 16 is
17
a big a
isn't
big range.
I'm pretty sure 18 is what? Who did this? Who? Somebody it's just. But let's look at the cards. I see.
Yeah, so Abelson is the one we were talking about earlier with like the autoencoder and the Armory Officer No and two platforms.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It can draw a ton of cards. Um, yeah, so it has like so much efficiency. The 18 is like if you get the autoencoder early, the 18 is low. Like it's underrated in that regard because like the double resurgence with the autoencoder is just like you just churn through everything so fast.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I mean it's got tons of efficiency with it. And then the other one, Triptobulus. Worlds Collide Brobnar. I saw that and I kind of chuckled because I was like, oh man, we're putting a Worlds Collide Brobnar in here. Um, yeah, I don't think I went as high as 17. I think I may have put 11 for this one, and yeah, I think I was one of the 11s on this one. I think it was
Okay.
the lack of artifact control and just the lack of a real burst ability from Triptobulus, like showed me that there's going to be a lot of time for Abelson to find its feet and use those effervescent principles and the Pismire to like, make this one last to the point where Abelson was just out of chains and it could just kind of roll.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like people just really hate the Brobnar.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I don't think it was necessarily that Abelson is insane. It looks honestly like a somewhat typical high-powered mass mutation deck. It's not,
Hmm.
to me,
Yeah,
it's not like cream of the crop. It's right up there in the mix of being a good deck. Uh,
yeah.
I dislike Savage Clash in the copies of two, uh, and the double effervescent principle means that it's just gonna slow the game down.
I love that style though. Like to me, I love effervescent principle. I think I'm probably higher on it than most people. But I still think your like evaluation of it is very good here as well. Like it's a good value mass mutation deck. It does some cool things. It's not like a high-end Archon type of deck, but it can do a lot
It
of
can do
interesting
cool
things.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I feel like this Worlds Collide Brabnar deck could do some fun stuff. Especially with that Nature's Call, triple Mustic Remook, and the double Exhume, and even just like triple Gengar Chieftain. That's just kind of fun to see, even with like the flex and Berserker Slam. Like that's one of the best cards in Worlds Collide, even though it's in Brabnar. That's the only downside of that card. But you can do some fun stuff with the Pimpakas, and I don't know.
Yeah.
The disc isn't terrible. It's not like I've seen plenty of decks of Triptobolus quality in sealed
Hmm.
and done
Absolutely.
just fine with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a high creature count, pretty good creature control. So yeah, in a sealed game, you could get a lot worse than that.
Hmm.
It's a fun deck. I've played it a
100%.
number of times. It can trip over itself, trip to bolus over itself. I don't know. With the Marmooks driving up its own key cost and struggling with Amber generation. But interesting too. This is a matchup where I kind of like Volcano. There's like one creature in Abelson that Volcano doesn't kill. And if Abelsons aren't
Hmm.
taking chains, like I'd play the Volcano to speed bump Abelson.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah, a
but
wipe like that's really good against Abelson.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
Uh, Zoc says slowing the game down is good if you have 10 chains. Completely agree. Like
yeah.
the effervescent principles, like taking an extra chain for that to take away like 5 or 6 amber from them when it could take that other deck like a couple turns to get that much amber. I agree. I think it's a really good thing. Slow the game down as much as you can until you can like shed a lot of those chains. So yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Definitely. All
All
right,
right.
so we
So
should switch
yeah,
gears. Send salutations to the folks in podcast land. Thanks for joining
yeah,
us with
missing
your
out.
podcatcher of choice. Yeah,
Podcasters missing out. Go to YouTube. Watch the game.
indeed. Uh, and cool. So, sloppy lab work after dark. Yeah, let's play. Let's play a match here. Um, I guess we've
Yeah.
said
So
Yeah, go for it.
We're gonna do Hand and Brain again. We did Hand and Brain on Sunday. We're gonna do that again here. We're gonna maybe we do that every week. We'll see. If you're not familiar, Hand and Brain has the brain who's going to choose the house each turn, and then the hand is going to play the cards. So it's two people like on the same team, but they're not allowed to collaborate really. And then during the off turn, really you can give some feedback and talk about it. But we wanted BHawk to choose one of the decks that we had in our evaluations from the past week. And then whichever one of us, JT and I, owns a deck will play as the brain, and then the other will play as the hand. So they're going to be unfamiliar with the deck, but listening to the brain tell them what house to call. So, BHawk, if you had a specific deck you wanted us to choose here.
I'm just kind of looking around. I already know what I want to play, so I have like dealer's choice here. So
That's right.
I kind of want to see what my deck can do against some DT, because I don't
Ooh,
think I've ever done any against DT.
no, there's a few options in here.
There is. Um,
Let's see. There's Mayor, there's Guadalupe, there is Anakim. Is there another one?
We've got Sleepy
I think those.
Anawag and
Oh yeah, Sleepy.
let's
yeah,
see.
I think Sleepy Analog has to.
The
All
I
right.
Raptors
mean,
are
we've
coming
talked
for
enough
you.
about it. So
The only unfortunate part about this is that we're not going to see those Raptors in real life because like when you have the
Yeah.
actual Maverick card in front of you, I think it looks
yeah.
a lot better. On TCO, you get like the icon over it, but it doesn't have any of the different coloring.
Yeah. I
But
get that.
um, all right,
Hopefully
let's
that'll come.
yeah, that'd be really cool. So this is JT's deck. So JT, you'll be playing as the brain. Um, I have actually played this, I think, once before in in an adaptive game with you. Um,
Yes.
I have to load it, but I don't have it. So I think
All right. I'm
Send
gonna
me the link.
minimize the stream so I don't cheat.
well,
See
Oh,
what's
I
so
going
think
on in your hands.
yeah, go ahead, JT.
I'll join the game as a spectator, and none of us will have insider info, so all good there. Um, but yeah, while you get that loaded
Oh,
in,
okay.
I think the enhancements are deterministically can be deterministically assigned, so no worries.
Yep.
And just have to give a shout out to Zox, very impressive collection of Mavericks. I was enjoying them immensely, particularly the Logos Hunting Witch. I think was my favorite. So super cool.
What's the password?
It's going to be sloppy. You don't want hands that exposed, right?
No hands. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So game is up now for you, BHawk.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh wait, maybe I do need to see hands. If I'm,
JT, you just joined the game as a player.
Yeah, he did.
I might actually, you might actually need to have hands exposed so I can see yours. Yes.
Oh, that's right. All right, I'm gonna make a new one. You're right on about that. See, Sloppy Lab, we're still figuring out this hand and brain thing. Um, I am gonna show hands to spectators. All right, so game is up for you now, BHawk. See if we got this. Third time's a charm.
All right.
Swear I won't. I won't look at your hand. The people on stream will know if I'm cheating here.
And I feel like
Oh shit, I didn't make an adaptive game. I should have made this adaptive language.
this isn't short adaptive.
Do you want to do short adaptive? Or you just do
Yeah, let's do a short adaptive game, right?
okay. We're gonna do it one more time.
Okay.
All right, hands open. Adaptive best of one. Maybe I got it right this time.
It looks right. I see the symbol.
Okay. We got Toot and Carnage
Okay.
watching the Carnage as well.
Cool.
All right. So you're playing Coda? Oh, this is I've heard of this one before. This one's can we call it famous, BHawk? Drab
It's it
Mirabelle?
might be.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of combos that happen in here. I look at it when I heard about that combo and I was like, I don't get it, so I just want to see it. I
Okay.
hope to pull it off. Interesting. All right. So library access, double phase shift. I love it. 2 rocket boots. Anyone good for the rocket boots? The Escatera maybe. Booked in. Oh, not the Escatera. I'm thinking of someone else. All right. You got a Keyhammer. You got a Lash. You got some good board wipes and Dis. That's a really good deck. Some bounce with lights out.
Mm-hmm.
So how is the brain? Is the brain gonna choose the deck and then the handle bid?
We can have an open conversation on this one, I suppose, for the sake of science. I definitely like drab Mirabelle. I've certainly seen BHawk do nasty things with this deck. I'm all
Yeah.
for bidding for it.
Did I just
Yeah.
go like straight to 16?
Uh, so that's funny because I'd love to see you do that.
We'll
Um,
play it close to the vest here. Let's lock it in. Yeah, both it. Okay, cool. So we get to bid first. Okay, we'll go one. We'll go one.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna play it slow.
we'll play slow.
I like this. I like this. I'll go slow as well.
I tend to jump a bit more. I like, especially like if you know you're going above 6. I like to go to 6 just to make them think twice about going above that threshold first.
So
Mm-hmm.
the mind games are interesting because it's like, ooh, did you jump because that's your last bid, or did you jump because you want to get on an even number and not an odd number, like that sort of a thing? Like
Maybe you're showing false confidence, like you like
maybe
snap
like
raise.
It's like a jump scare, really.
jump
Yeah,
Oh,
scare.
exactly.
Yeah,
they really want this deck.
we could say
They
4.
want it so
I
bad.
could get on board with 4.
I'm definitely going higher than 4, I think.
All right.
Almost
I
negative
love
5.
this decision point. I'm gonna jump 1.
All right, so this is it. So this is where the first player random is kind of interesting and adaptive. Interesting is one word for it, I guess. Um, I don't know if it's more of a bug, I would say, than a feature. Um, Not knowing if you're going first can make like a huge swing in your chain bidding. Um, JT, I'm inclined to go 8 here.
Okay. Well, hand's getting very spicy. All right, I can get on board with 8. Let's go 8.
All right,
Yeah.
do it.
All right. 8. Man.
I feel like 7 was like you'd have gone to 8, right?
Oh, I would have gone to 8.
Yeah.
9. That is. But it's against Dark Tidings. Dark Tidings is garbage, right? So,
Right?
yeah. Okay.
Oh man.
Raptors. How good can Raptors be?
Yeah, let's look at this Sleepy Analog again. I have played this one once. Um, it was an interesting matchup, but I don't think there's any relevant data points that I can pull from that history. It was like a very different. It was like a Soul Snatcher matchup. It was super weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I'm gonna let the brain make a choice here. You want to pass? Or you want to go to 10?
I would go to 10.
Yeah, we gotta make BHawk sweat a little bit if he's gonna pull off his
Oh,
combo.
oh man. All right. Yeah, I gotta pass.
Oh man. All right. Well, we're going first, so we shed a chain first, which is a positive.
Can we
Um,
let's take a
so
beat while it's fresh too, and just like go through some thought process here. I mean, we could do it at the end, but I think it'd be for the sake of science. Yeah, like what was kind of the rationale on how we landed there. I mean, I'm happy to load or talk first on this one, unless you guys think it's tipping too much info.
No, I'd love to talk about it. I don't think it affects much anyway.
Yeah, so Drab Mirabelle, I do feel like you want to really save that library access, right? Like I think the library access turn is just so good when it fires on all cylinders. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm worried about potentially chaining myself there. Like maybe there's I don't know. Maybe even discard it. That's hard to say. But I guess where I was going with that is I think there's enough stalling in Mirabelle. Like the Hysterias, I think are great. Yeah, they combo really well with the library access phase shift. I'd be fine probably using them just as stalls. I think the lights outs are going to be great. So I kind of looked at this and said, yeah, I think there are enough tools in Mirabelle to drag the game out to a point where you can kind of turn things around. And 10, to be honest, 10 does feel high to me, but not outside the range of like, I don't know, not outside the range of like me not wanting to play the better deck in this case. I think that was kind of where I landed. Very scientific, very scientific.
Okay. Yeah. I will say, I don't want to influence your play,
Mm-hmm.
but I have personally witnessed someone taking this deck for this many chains and getting insanely lucky and comboing out on like turn 2 or 3.
Oh my God.
So, but I have never experienced it on from myself having nearly as many chains and being able to do that.
Even
So,
with zero chains, you've never been able to do that.
yeah, even with 0 chains, I'm always waiting turn 10 or 11. I want like absolute certainty because I love certainty with that deck, and it can pull it off and even go from like 0 keys. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I will play around. But a lot of the times when I'm doing normal adaptive, I will just go pure disruption route and just I won't even worry about the combo. If I have a library access turn, I'll I'll pull it if it makes sense. I'm just trying to dig through the chains and just let the deck do what it does.
If I get quiet during this game, it's because I'm like either deep in thought trying to figure out what this combo is again, or I'm like digging through Discord history just to find it and read up on it.
Okay. That's
Just let me know
interesting.
if you're gonna
Okay.
go in the tank so I can dance or something. Provide that sweet content.
I just want you to dance anyway. Can we just do that?
Might happen. We'll see. It's the Raptor shuffle in Sanctum, indeed.
All right. So brains up to let me know which house to play here. And I guess if I want to keep the hand. What did we say for the mulligan? Was that the brains choice?
Brain's choice whether or not to mulligan. Oop. Am I looking at the wrong? I'm looking at the wrong hand. I'm like, what the heck? Sorry. I'm already cheating. I'm like, what the heck? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
We're playing first. I
Yeah, we're going
say
first.
let's keep it. Let's keep it.
Okay. All right. What house am I going here? Mr. Brain?
We're going into Dis.
This, you said?
Yep. Get these things adjusted.
All right. Hmm. Wow. Okay, you're already putting me in a pickle. Um,
Interesting. So I like that a lot. I don't think I would have done anything differently there. Oh man, we didn't draw any cards. What's going on there?
right.
You did go first.
Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. So interesting. How about back into Dis?
Okay. Just gonna reap and go with the hysteria and the imp.
I love it. All right.
Kind of just buy a turn back essentially.
Yeah, that was a let's get some chains shed here. BHawk might go back into Logos and get some more Philo value, but they're not doing anything else. So like that's cool, I guess.
He's up to 7 cards, so the Fila can get a little extra. Discards the info exchange. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
What do we
this
got
is
now?
really sad. But I think I want to go into Logos here.
Okay. Play a random access archives.
Love and hate that card.
What do you hate about it?
I hate it during library access turns because it will inevitably archive the card I needed.
Oh, sorry. People on stream grabbing the wrong stuff here. Okay, I can toss this.
So the Logos got rid of the imp. Plays an Eddy. You saved a bunch of Logos, it seems.
I saved one.
Okay.
Information exchange is not worth holding.
Yeah, correct.
Cool.
So you saved
Eddy.
and then you drew into the theory, I guess.
Yep.
Very nice.
Let's go shadows here.
Okay. I'm going to take the archive. All right, so got to do this in the right order. Let's see here. Sleepy Analog's got no damage pips. Infighting can do some damage. Numquid. All right. I think I've made my choice on the pawn sacrifice here. I'm going to get rid of the Umbra.
Ooh.
I'm going to kill off the Eddy and the Fila.
Mm-hmm.
Going to lights out the Seaborg.
Perfect.
And play the Moon Cursor on the left.
I love that you...
Very cool. And then my only question is more of a rules question. How does poison interact with infighting?
I have that same question. Let's find out.
Find out. I don't think it's going to kill Bookton, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
It does not kill Bookton.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I think poison only affects things for fights. So.
I don't have counters. Doesn't matter.
Okay, during a fight being the operative clause there. Okay, I just checked the poison.
Okay, so we're already down to 5 chains. I feel like that happened really quickly.
It did. I think you're in a good spot. See, you used your disruption to good effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, very interesting. I think I'm tempted to go back into shadows here.
Okay. So, shadows it is. Who am I going to fight? I think probably want to get rid of the... If I get rid of the Mookling, yeah, don't really love that. You got the Eddy back with the Witch. All right, this might be a controversial choice, but I'm going to fight the Witch of the Dawn.
Okay.
Nice.
And then lights out the Mookling and Miliobe.
Man.
And check at 6. What do you think, JT?
This is,
interesting.
This is pretty good for you. This is really good for you.
I was absolutely
you
thinking...
said that was good?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, BHawk, you said that. Did you say that was good?
Yeah, this is really good for you. Getting the lights out twice in a row with the man, all the tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that came together pretty well.
Would you have fought someone different, JT?
I think I would have probably fought the... Mookling and bounced the Gibbuck and Miliobe, only because that would be a little bit of forcing on health selection. Like we knew they could stop the we knew BHawk could stop the Forge and Logos. This like also opened up Untamed as an option to stop the Forge. Coming back with the Mukli, but I don't know if it's that critical. Yeah,
Okay.
but really interesting. Ooh, okay, tough. Uh, hmm. Wow.
This is. Go ahead. I won't say anything yet.
Hmm.
The brain is in the tank. You still there with us, JT? Did you get
So,
disconnected?
still here. Still here. This one's tricky.
It is.
Uh, I'm gonna say. Ooh, am I though? Wow, that's tempting. I think I'm gonna say Shadows again.
I love it. I'm glad you did that. Uh, yeah, I know you told me to fight the Mookling last time, but I guess I'll do it. So I check it's 7 now.
Love it. Really? I think I just gotta let you forge.
Ooh,
I
all
think you do
right.
too. I think you just got to let me forge all night.
Yeah, but I gotta let you forge for 7.
Fortune for 7, indeed. Oof.
All right, brain, which key we forging? Wonder what color you're gonna pick.
Red, obviously.
Obviously.
Obviously. Okay, now getting really tricky.
Yeah.
Um. Wow. I mean, I think I'm gonna say dis now. I don't feel
Okay.
great
Yeah.
about it, but yeah,
You do or don't feel great about it.
I don't feel great about it.
You
So.
do feel okay. I was dreading this turn because I I just don't know what the decision's gonna be. Um, I am gonna play the hysteria for sure,
All right.
and um, uh,
Man, that is so good for you, dude. Oh man.
now I just got to pick the right house. This is the part that I'm like, I'm gonna get berated by my brain here in a minute. Um, yeah, you just drew 5 cards last turn, so you could really have anything. Your discard is a lot of Untamed, so I think I'm probably gonna send you back to Untamed, but you get the Groon again, which is a bummer. But yeah, I'm gonna go Untamed.
Hmm.
All right. Good choice. Um,
You've got to have Sanctum coming up soon.
Yeah, that was a tough house choice. You have to figure. I mean, the Gruen's coming back at some point.
Hmm. There it
Oof.
is, Beach Day Groon.
I know you're out of like those disruptive effects, but at some point I just need to start discarding stuff.
Oh man. Ugh. I'm really tempted. I don't know if we can, since we've played both Hysterias, we have a gateway coming. We've
Someday.
played up both lights out.
You've
And
only
JT
got
is
2
great.
chains left. Man.
2
Chains.
Ugh.
I mean, I think I'm just gonna say dis here.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't know if there's any reason to just purge my own stuff.
That
Um,
is a good play.
yeah, every card in my discard pile is amazing, so I'm not gonna purge mine. Um, and then I think it's your only witch. Um, there's no forgive or forget, so I think let's go with the Mookling and the Beach Day. Yeah, I don't. I think Beach Day is really good, and I'm not gonna forget to trigger the lash.
Good job.
The whole point of that
That's
turn.
you had one job this turn. It's like, yeah.
All right, so he forged a key
It's an expensive
on
key.
this turn.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm feeling great about this, guys.
Oof. There's the Seaborg again. That's Seaborg. Doing everything we can to keep it off the board.
Never goes away.
Mm-mm.
All right,
Okay.
so
Could be
we are
worse.
technically tied here. I feel like we're in a
Yes, technically.
I feel like we're in a
I'm
great spot.
you're in a great spot.
I mean, it has to be Logos.
Yeah, this is it. Let's see
Is
what we
it?
got here.
Oh no.
Let's uh let's see what we got. So a phase shift. Um
Ooh, draw better.
yeah, I know I gotta draw a lot better. I've got to draw a lot better. The infighting's gone. Okay, that's something. Um hmm. Some interesting choices here for the rocket boots.
Mm-hmm.
Uh you just went into Logos and you drew two. So I think you're unlikely to go back to Logos. Oh man, gonna take a little chance there and busted.
Oh man.
I only drew one Logos
Oh
on that
man.
turn.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
I dig it. I dig it. Um, rocket boots on moon cursor. Cool.
Interesting.
Would you have targeted the rocket boots at someone else, JT?
Um, I think that's a fine choice. I mean, the Seaborg combos with Exploiter to kill anything. Um, I probably would have put it on the Bookton or maybe Mechanic, probably Bookton, just to spread. Well, I guess it depends on whether you want to shoot for the moon or kind of spread the value, but anticipating not Logos next turn. I guess it's whether we want the moon cursor to be like more of a target. Um, but not seeing Logos here feels pretty good. So
Yeah,
maybe
I
we'll.
didn't think he was gonna get Logos. That's kind of the reason that I wasn't afraid of the Seaborg,
Mhm.
because he just played Logos a couple turns. He only drew two last turn. Um, yeah, the healer harm is one of the two things I thought you could have had um, in Sanctum to take care of it.
Mhm.
It's either that or the Numquid.
Yeah, and I mean healer harm is going to be problematic regardless, so that's
Yeah,
fine. Okay. Oof.
okay. There's the bring low. Discards Numquid.
Discards Numquid. Interesting. Hmm. I mean, we Just got rid of all these chains.
Yeah, they're gone.
Oh gosh. Oh god.
I think I want shadows.
Okay. Play out Bad Penny. She's great, right?
Mhm.
Yes, with Seeker Needle. Yo.
I'm gonna discard her before I
Discard?
make a
Oh
mistake.
no.
Let's see here. So, you don't have any key cheats.
Is
So
that
I
a
think,
statement or a question?
I don't know. It could be either one. I'm just trying to
Yes,
see if I should cover up that Titan mechanic or not.
Ooh, interesting.
Hmm. Yeah. Not the best draw right there.
Not the best.
We do have 6 cards though,
Hmm.
so that says something.
We do have 6 cards. I'll take it. Ooh, old Egad. Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's Amore.
That's more indeed. Oh, cool. Amberfin.
Oh, we fight in 80.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
All right. So he checks at 6.
It is a
Key
check.
cost of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, you're just really bad at drawing.
Thank you. At least that's the comment, and not that I'm really bad at making decisions.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
All right. Interesting one. Yeah, I guess this.
Okay.
Oh
Yes, it is.
gosh, please.
Yeah, he knows what's coming.
No.
He knows it.
Oh.
I'm just checking out Sleepy Analog's list again here, and I think that this is maybe a controversial play. Curious to hear what you think about this. Gonna trigger the lash, play
Mm-hmm.
the gateway, get some more chains, and play the arise. And this is pretty interesting. But I'm double checking, triple checking your list, and I think I'm gonna go with just the single disc creature.
Ember Imp. Good play. I
That's
like it.
it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you're out of creature control. Um, yeah, I feel like that's pretty good.
All right. My discard is empty. That
All
feels
right,
better.
you could have anything now.
I could. And I'm in check again.
And check again. Yeah, I had instant regret when after I said dis.
Well,
Probably.
so Drab has some interesting decision points because there's not actually anything in shadows that can take me off check, even though
Yeah.
it's shadows.
Out of
Coverage
hand.
shadows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some good creatures in there. Would you have gone shadows last turn with that arise?
Me personally, yes.
Interesting.
And Mr. Brain? Mr. Brain?
I might have. I probably, probably. After the comment about the board control being gone, I was leaning more into shadows, but I think maybe it was a
That's
mistake
fair.
upstream. I maybe should have gone Logos, allowed a forge, gotten 2 reaps. We'd be at check, and you could have still gatewayed with the phase shift. That might have been a better play, because I think we're giving
Interesting.
up the forge here anyway. Like, I'm not going to call dis again. I think we're gonna go logos here. Um, but yeah.
Okay.
So regretting this a little bit. Call last turn, feeling like it should have been a logos call.
Hmm. All right. So, question is, hmm. All right. Yeah. Let's do it. I'll play it.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, now the rocket boots can go on the imp, but I feel like you are kind of forced into going Sanctum here to kill the imp. Um, or I can put the boots on the Umbra. Maybe you kill both of them then. And what's in my draw deck has a big difference too.
Still waiting on Library of the Damned.
What, 4 more discs coming?
Yeah,
Mother.
Ooh,
we'll go there.
interesting.
All right. Well,
Interesting.
5 would have been an interesting decision point. But 4.
Ooh, got another shark again. Yeah?
So I don't have shark.
Mm-hmm.
The Kangafant. That's nice. That's
Real
very
nice.
nice.
Ooh, cool.
Which pretty much turns off rocket boots on Ember Imp.
Yeah.
Maybe even Ember Imp in general.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it.
Also still haven't seen Ghostly Hand.
This turned out to be a pretty even match, I think, at 10 chains.
Yeah, it's feeling closer than maybe it should be.
Is that a criticism of the hand or the brain?
I think the brain on the last play.
Oh, really?
On the dis call with the
Yeah. That was a bad call, I think. Or I think it was not it was an inaccuracy, I think. Inaccuracy, let's call it.
Yeah, I like inaccuracies.
I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think I could have made up for it. I think maybe you're right by calling the shadows. Like my logic was he has no creature control left, so the Ember Imp is huge. But you made the good point that he has no creature control left, so a giant board of shadows can just like
Mm-hmm.
maybe go
Yeah,
wild.
yeah, that could have been really deadly. I would have basically been choosing to play 5 powered things or nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, I like shadows here. There's no shadows in your draw pile, right? It's all
That's correct.
okay.
So it's all coming out now. We're gonna fight into not sure if it matters. Do the Kangafant and then
Cool.
the Ghostly Hand
Mm-hmm.
and the Moon Cursor. And I don't want to kill my Moon Cursor. So just ping the Kangafant.
Yeah, this is tough.
May have killed the moon cursor. That's an interesting question there.
Yeah, it's we can. I think we could probably make the argument for that.
Ooh, fights. Okay, so this is cool. It has to get rid of that Ember Imp. I dig it.
Which is letting you forge for cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that too. Okay. Blue or yellow? Very important call here.
Yellow, please.
Hmm.
Okay, so we
Hmm.
haven't seen Mother yet. Okay.
I'm very excited for your turn.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was a way for me to play that card.
Oof. Wow.
I think I know what you're thinking too.
I am super tempted.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is.
We're gonna draw Mother.
Yeah. As long as we don't take any more chains. I haven't even hasn't even crossed my mind to raise the tie this game. We were talking earlier,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not once did it actually, never a consideration. I don't think there's anything really in your deck that needs to have it. And you get the Marshall You Are out now, but I
Right.
don't know. The
The
Deepwater
only
Croon.
thing is if you're getting to like 5 amber and you need that scare against me to play like Deepwater Gruin.
Just banking on the misplay, you mean?
Yeah, that I
Yeah.
won't take the tide back because I never take the tide. You know.
You know what? I might regret this, but I'm gonna say Logos.
Okay.
Yeah. Sense to me.
All right. So. All right. I am going to threaten here.
Yeah, I like
Mm-hmm.
it.
ABCs of Keyforge. Always be
I
checking.
like it.
Yeah, I liked it.
All right. I have a lot I could do. You still have not drawn, and Keyhammer is not a factor. So basically, I gotta get rid of your shadows and Titan Mechanic.
Yeah. And you did shuffle a couple turns ago, so to bring Lowe's back in play.
Right.
How many capture pips do you have? One.
Mm-hmm. Just the one
And it
on
looks
the
like that.
Raptor.
Yeah, it's back in his deck though.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Mookling.
Hmm.
No, I purged the Mookling wisely.
It's just interesting because there's no way I can get to check this turn. With. Mm,
Without losing the game.
Yeah,
yeah,
without
yeah,
losing
yeah.
the game. No archives. Interesting.
So
That's
BHawk, did you exalt the Hestatus Raptor when you fought the Moon Cursor?
I did not mean to. I just saw something come up, but yeah, that is definitely something where I'm like, mm,
Oh yeah, the card's highlighted. Click the thing. Like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
dang
yeah.
it.
Go to the light. So
That
you
is
did.
a
Okay.
that is a TCO interaction where it's just like that wouldn't really happen in real life, but
Hmm.
it's fine. Um,
That answers the question for Tune Carnage then.
oh, okay.
I have to admit, I did have to reread Keyhammer a couple times, thinking it was like a break key where you just like
Uh,
unforge it and give them 6, but um
Hmm.
no. There's like if not for Bring Low, there is like a very niche situation here where I could actually play it. But Bring Low like takes that out completely.
Yeah, I was doing similar counting.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. That was clever.
ooh, ooh, okay.
yeah, it's not great,
All right, into this we go.
but
All right, yes it is.
this
And
has
we are going to
key.
discard the Keyhammer before I screw it up and trigger the lash
Yeah,
and going to put the Dust Imp on the right because we want it to die to the infighting.
yeah. So this is a really interesting point because basically you can stall with Lash, and next turn if you fight with Dust Imp, it'll put you in check for key.
Hmm.
Um, or I could push to 9, and then you virtually can't do anything. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is what I'm gonna do, is push to 9. Ugh.
Ooh, check at nine's pretty
JT and
good.
JT and I just both gulped when you did that.
Yeah, you sure you didn't want to fight the dust imp? I mean, we can
I
we can roll
feel
that
like
back
No,
if you
I feel like
want.
Badge
it
Magus is a
totally,
great fight here. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah, it totally is.
we should have
Oh,
Oh,
should have tried the case before that.
yeah,
yeah. Well, all right. Well, we'll make him sweat a little bit here. Let's go into dis.
yeah.
Yeah, we're
Just,
definitely
oh,
we're
oh no, oh no,
we're
oh
slow
god.
rolling right here.
Mm-hmm.
Very important Library of the Damned decision here. Don't want to fight with the imp. I'm going to keep the imp alive for the gateway.
Yeah.
Yo,
Classy.
Nice
Classy.
game.
crazy.
GG.
GG.
That was
Dang.
that was good. So 10 turns out I mean that was a super close game.
Yeah.
I think could have gone either way, right?
Yeah, I think yeah, so I definitely feel like even though that one turn could have been a misplay, uh it also, I mean, it was really close. So,
Yeah, I think
and
there was a hand and brain double whammy where maybe he
and
chose the wrong house and I probably made the wrong play and then like that kind of like stacked on each other to really
right.
set us back.
And if I hadn't exalted my raptor, I could have had a different decision point as
Mm-hmm.
well. Because I could
Mm-hmm.
have reaped out with King of Fate in play and them quitted.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you'd have
cool.
had an extra one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or,
Gotcha.
or, yeah. I basically could have brought it down to having one creature in play and, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that that was just really a really good draw for Drab at the beginning. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I think
I,
having all that disruption was so good to like just shed the chains and like get back to ground zero.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah,
I would
super
like to
super
look at
fortunate we were
the,
seeing the hysterias and not the gateway initially too. I mean, we.
Yeah, yeah, because Gateway's other chains. So
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
let's see here.
it's like it's a potential discard early if I'm sitting there with like 6 or 7 chains. Like it really slows you down. Obviously, you want to clear the board, but um, much better to do it for free with the Hysteria or something.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at because I didn't really think that the deck discrepancy, like obviously I thought Drab was better. Um, but if you look at the efficiency of Drab, it's almost 20 with the disruption versus Sleepy Analog has 10 speed and like virtually no disruption.
Yeah,
So is
yeah.
10, what is that a better marker? Because like once you've picked the better deck, was 10 chains correct? That
I
is the
feel okay
difference
with
in
it.
efficiency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I totally felt fine with 10. It was interesting though, like to learn, like when you're playing a deck like that you've never played before, it's really interesting when you mention the Shadows has no out of hand way to take them off check. Like those kind of things are hard to spot when you're checking out an Archon card.
Yeah.
But like knowing that as the opponent of that deck, like really frees you up a lot, I think.
It does. Yeah, I know there's Keyhammer out of this. I mean, you could do something with Logos with Keyhammer or something. But yeah, for the most part, I know the outs of the deck, so I also felt like I knew what to push it to. And obviously, you haven't played the deck before, and sometimes, like if you had a first turn library of the Damned, that also could have easily won you the game.
Yeah, that's a ton of efficiency that if you just get dealt with that, you're right.
Yeah.
The one card that I missed earlier, I really wish I had was actually the Keyhammer. Like with the Lash
Mm,
combined,
yeah,
like that just buys you so much time
it does.
to take them off and then make them pay 9 for it.
Yeah.
So I was
Um,
bummed to not get the Keyhammer until the very end.
I was really sad at your library access turn.
Oh,
Me
yeah, it
too.
was
I
it
blame
was
the
pretty
hand.
weak. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that was on that's my fault.
Yeah, the
Um,
draws. Yeah.
just got to draw
Yeah.
better. I mean,
I mean, what I love about Drab is that even if it gets really close, its library access combo can win the game.
so talk to me
With
about that combo. Like,
so you have the double phase shift, you have Arise, you have Hysteria. All that matters is that you wait until critical mass, and it doesn't matter if as long as you wait until just after they've forged their second key. Because after that, you can do a library access turn, phase shift Keyhammer to unforge their key, and you can do the phase shift control a week to force them into a house, and you'll be that they don't have removal in, so you can have your logos board with Doc Booked in, Rocket Boots, and the 4 cards in your discard will be phase shift, control the week, phase shift, Keyhammer. So you can just
wow.
repeat that turn after turn.
Like, what percentage of games would you say that actually you pull it off?
So it's funny because I only have like a 49% win rate with that deck, but I go for that combo so many times. I think it would be my win percentage would probably be in the 60s, if not more, if I just played the hand that was dealt me. But I see my hand. I'm like, this is almost it. I'm so close to this being like the combo hand
Yeah.
that I just push and push and push because I know if it happens, it's an auto win. So,
Yeah. I have a similar type of like Coda combo deck that can get the one turn kill with a library access combo with phase shift, reverse time, key abduction, battle fleet. And
ooh,
it's a great deck. I lean
hmm
into it, but I think in a similar way, like my win percentage is pretty low because every single game I lean into that combo and I just want to do it.
hmm
And it has like pretty good value cards, just like Drab does. And if I just played the hand that was dealt me, as you said, like I feel like I would probably win more games. But it's like knowing when to just play the cards and knowing when to lean into the combo is still like kind of hard to know.
it is. It's a tough decision point. Getting early plays of like Library of the Damned, it's almost like, oh, I can win.
Yeah, yeah. I have a Library of the Damned in that deck too, and it's the same way. It's like if I I've played it in a few leagues the last couple years. and every single league game, the Library of the Damned is on bottom, like without fail.
Mm, yeah,
And that's heartbreaking because I know that if I get that library out, it just makes everything
yeah.
just a matter of time before you find it.
I also hate seeing that the hand where it's like phase shift, hysteria, hysteria, no library access. Like
Yeah,
it's just nowhere to be seen.
yeah,
But yeah, when the combo when I go for it and it can come together, it can be pretty good. But there's also some times where I'm just like I stalled to the point where I need to go then, like right when they forge their second key and I have to do it. And it'll look like I've almost got it, but I hate random access archives because it will inevitably, like one every 3 or 4 games, it'll be like, oh, did you mean to archive this phase shift or mean to archive Control the Weak? Because it's gone now. It's in your archives. You can't play it this turn.
yeah.
So
So it's probably like the last card you play with library access, like last
it's a
resort.
tricky thing because like I'll check like what's in my deck and it'll be like, oh gosh, I need that piece. I need that piece. Do I do it now? Do I wait until the end? And almost all the time I should have done it like 3 or 4 turns ago, but I keep putting it off because it just never it just knows that if that card's in my hand to wait. It'll just like shift cards down until I finally play that card.
Yeah, that's how TCO does it. It knows exactly
Yeah,
what you're thinking.
it does. It knows what you're
Miracle.
going for. It I mean, I know green names draw better, so
It's true. I
you know.
I don't always make pull requests to TCO, but when I do, it's to give myself better draws. There's got to be a meme like that somewhere, right?
I feel like you
Yeah.
can't even joke about that. Like someone is going to take that way too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, too funny.
No.
Too funny.
All right. Well, BHawk, thanks so much for joining us tonight. This was a blast. I hope you had a lot of fun with us too.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun. I like talking about this format, just adaptive in general. It's super fun.
Right on, right on. Had a blast. Good times. Good times. We'll do it again, I'm sure. I hope. And yeah, thanks to folks who came in to tune in. Yeah, I probably will
Yeah.
cut this off mid sentence. That's our typical style. So this isn't
Yeah.
even gonna make the recording, but this was a blast. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, this was good, guys. Thanks.
All right. Y'all have a good night from the Sloppy
All right,
Lab.
Yeah.
guys.
Have a good night.